And it's going beyond the niche. It's not about that niche. It's like, how can we position the business in a way that is not necessarily competing with 100 or 1,000 others in the industry or in the city.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids. The art of positioning. Let's freaking go. Now's my time and I won't hesitate.
Marketing is coming at you with ideas, Google Ads, SEO updates, website revamps, but despite all their work, you're still at this plateau. There's a fair chance either your message is scattered between experiences or your marketing is following the industry. And if that's the case, a fresh position and strategy to implement it consistently throughout the business will fix that. Visit badassrybybee.com to find out more. This episode is sponsored by Dealfront, and in a few minutes, I'll share just what it is that I freaking love about them. We've decided to kill the art of branding, and who better to take the exactly? And who better to take the lead? Hint, hint. And question the direction and possibly my sanity than our very own producer and creative who likely gives AI a run for its money, Elijah Drown.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
It is. I mean, you questioning my sanity, like everybody can now hear that live. Like,
are you fucking nuts?
Exactly.
Exactly. Take the essence of whoever it may be. Letterkenny, I think, is who I embrace as a Canadian. You may not be familiar, but many are. And they're kind of just having fun in plaid, drinking terrible beer and telling stupid dad jokes. So hopefully I can bring that to the table today as we question your sanity, give a little pizzazz, quirkiness, and season 3 action.
Exactly.
If I can cross-promote because you let me take the lead and I'm just making up questions as I go. You were on Tea Time with Tech Marketing Leaders podcast, friends I work with at MKG, and you're talking about messaging and positioning and what marketing leaders should do. And now you're taking your own advice to change positioning that starts with a title. So because you don't like lipstick on a pig, you're going to switch from the art of branding to the art of positioning. Is that correct?
The art of branding, the name has been bothering me for probably at least a season now. And it's because I don't focus on the branding and the way that that's perceived, as in the visual side only.
Yeah.
I'm focused on like, hey, let's reposition and change what's going on in the background, in the business, in the marketing, everywhere, the operations to reflect that. And I wanted to make sure that that is shown in the podcast as well, that, hey, we're not just doing the outside. This is going deep into your business and like how it operates.
I think when you came up with the title, having something 80% of the way there is true startup fashion, right? You need to get something out. You're focused on the early days of perfection. Yeah. Oh my God, people are going to stare at me with their ears and I don't know what to do because it's an audio thing, if you know. And here we are trying to iterate and go as you figure things out. The communication, the polish, the creativity, the extra leads or whatever you're doing. And now you're talking about sponsorships and that the website play, because that's finally talking about yourself, thank goodness, and doing something with the podcast, right? Because your business, you at least want to try and make it worth your time. And here we are trying to iterate and figure things out. And now we're kind of getting closer to 90, 100%, I think. Are you feeling like you're more confident or almost there?
Oh, Jesus, 100%. Compared to when episode 1, season 1 came out to now, you know, target audience clarity. You know, people will ask me and I'm like, oh, here is like a block. Like this is the details. This is their situation. This is their biggest frustration. This is where they're at. You know, and they're like, oh, damn. And the same thing with the podcast. And I know we had this discussion where it's like, okay, I'm thinking about changing, but like, this whole like, are people going to lose access to the old episodes? I was worried about the URL thing. And you're like, well, no, you can actually keep that old URL. So you're not going to completely go off the radar. And updates since then is my website person who, was doing some updates with the website, etc. Get a little bit of a blog going on there to get some more written side of this. It was like, hey, we already know it as the art of branding. And I tried to search for it by like Badassery by B, and it didn't come up. And I was like, fair point right there. Badassery by B was not in the original description. So that was like a last minute update as well.
It's not going to be perfect because you're trying to change a thing throughout the progress or the evolution of the thing. So you want to keep the audience, and you're willing to sacrifice some of that visibility because God knows that branding is impossible to compete with on ranking if you're still doing that, or the noise that show up in AI models that are trying to summarize everything and pull up Badassery by B equals branding. It's a nightmare. So I guess that's the sacrifice that goes into play. Is there a particular reason why you started to hate the branding and wanted to move towards the positioning?
Because branding at the very heart of it is the how it's seen rather than the essence. That's commonly how branding is perceived versus what I'm focused on, which is that brand strategy side. So that's why it really irked me. And positioning that encompasses the biggest part of the change that I help businesses with. When you're repositioned, then it's easy to change everything else within the business or adapt everything else within the business. The positioning is that pivot point where it's like, hey, let's not be seen as yet another plumber. Let's not be seen as another bookkeeper, accountant. Maybe let's position as a subscription service plumber who specifically for landlords, and it's going beyond the niche. It's not about that niche. It's like, how can we position the business in a way that is not necessarily competing with 100 or 1,000 others in the industry or in the city?
It almost feels like you're shouting into the void if you don't really understand positioning. And I think as a newer business owner myself, shifting from corporate and getting kicked out of corporate, if you will, and then, the old package adage, you're a number. And now I'm entrepreneuring as a creative. And I took your little test that you had. It's pretty cool because then it gives me a sense of what you're capable of. It gives me a sense of how I can show up and the things I could do if I had people to help me with, besides the fake AI assistants that everybody wants me to do, which is fine. But it's pretty cool. You can get a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day plan. You can get this whole system. However you built it with the website, it just automatically, it's almost like a drip specialized for you. Yeah. An email campaign. And I thought that was pretty cool. So to your point where you're checking out the website, as you mentioned earlier in the episode, to now you're, standing out without having to drop, 10,000, $500,000 on this rebrand stuff to have that lipstick on a pig effect is kind of a nice way to do it. And you also give a nice summary of how to do things. So I'm not saying that I haven't done it yet. I just need to find the time and actually intention to do it right. So I saved all the documents and the steps, and I have to build out a process to figure it out. But the important part is when I'm ready, I have all the tools all ready for me. And then I can just reply and say, hey, Beatrice, how do I do the thing? And maybe we hop on a call for a consult or something, be like, I got you. And then maybe it leads to something different. So you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for the client and for the prospect of people to have that relationship where you both benefit. So I think that's unique. And I wanted to share that I'm no longer shouting in the void. So it's nice. Thank you.
That brand health check, that tool to diagnose, like, okay, are there performance gaps in your brand? That was a compilation of the experiences that I've had with business owners over the last couple of years, and even beforehand to the struggles. It's like, hey, everybody's saying do XYZ, and it's fluff. And I wanted there to be something out there to not only diagnose, like, okay, so these are the gaps that exist in your brand, but actually go in and be like, hey, these are things that you can go and do yourself. You find that with other things like copywriting or, business consulting, etc., that they'll be like, okay, these are your gaps. But in brand strategy, in your brand performance, I don't see that. And I wanted to have that access and give that access to business owners out there to be like, hey, where are my gaps? What can I actually do in my business right now, rather than having to wait for a consultancy call or try to Google or AI go, what the hell do I do? So
Yeah, it's nice for people that are hesitant to do the work because it's effort, and humans naturally don't like effort. Are there a couple of things that you can do today to help people identify, or how do they identify? What do they do to figure out first steps to diving deep, or to realizing that, hey, I might actually need to do this positioning thing for whatever reason?
I highly recommend to take that brand performance or brand health audit,
Check.
because that gives a clear indicator of like whether you need to work on your positioning, or maybe that is already you're on top of that and there's other areas in your business that you can work on. So keep an eye out on how much you're putting into your marketing. Is that having any results? Your existing customers, are they returning? Are they extending? Or are they going later on to competition? Is there that excitement? Is there that mention and tag? And, an easy way to check that and make sure that, you are being mentioned, that your brand is growing, is to set up a Google alert. Have it come to your inbox. You don't even need to do anything after that. And you can see whether your brand is being mentioned online. Talk to your team and be like, hey, when a customer comes into the showroom, or when somebody starts chatting on the chatbots, easy to set up with AI, have it ask, how did you hear about us? I would love to double down on that. There is nothing wrong with that. And people, gurus out there who are like, oh, it's so cringe that you're asking, how'd you find out about us? It's not cringe. That's how you know where to double down, and that's how you know what you're doing is working or not.
Is your newsletter working for you? While you're talking about getting out there, creating awareness, even the Google alert, does that help the Google alert, or is that just something that is an extension of your brand, including the podcast?
It was. Sadly, I've had to put the newsletter on hiatus, mainly because the focus and the energy, I wanted to place it on things that are creating more traction for the business. And I found that with the podcast, as we're going into season 3, on LinkedIn, on other platforms, even guesting on other podcasts, it's been a great opportunity to develop the brand and grow that, as we were just talking about, brand mentions and discussions about what's going on here.
Fancy. So that's the email newsletter, right?
Yes, that's right.
There's one that you have because you're B2B on LinkedIn. Is that going to stay? Is that going away? And follow-up, is that helpful to you?
I would like to keep it. We shall see, because there's still quite a bit of archive to go through. because the newsletter on LinkedIn only just started in February this year, I want to say.
So new.
Yeah, it's fairly new, and I found it to be quite effective in readership compared to the regular email newsletter, as in there are a lot more eyes on the newsletter. At the moment, I believe it's sending to about 2,000 people with like 20% open rate.
It's decent.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. So
kind of that platform wants you in the system, and it wants that, I don't know, they all want that addictive flavor, right? And that's just part of the beast. But so you have access to the followers because the newsletter component says, hey, followers of Beatrice, here's a newsletter. You should totally check it out because it's badass. And then the people that subscribe to the newsletter, it automatically emails them without you having to create a list. It's already got your contact information. So it says, hello, by the way, there's an email, there's a newsletter that you subscribe to. You should probably read it because you subscribed. Hello, duh. And then that's where the 20% CTR or the open rate is happening. So it's kind of like a lot of work assistant marketing play is doing it for you.
it does
because
the
the
SEO.
machine wants you in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then because LinkedIn is a machine now owned by Microsoft, hate it or love it, that's a behemoth on ranking. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of, why not? It's right there. And it doesn't cost you anything to do it.
You can't just keep on doing the same thing, even though, like, say, for example, LinkedIn posting. You compare now to 2 or 3 years ago, the reach is significantly different.
Yeah. The comments or whatever are the play or whatever they're doing self-serving wise, which is annoying, but it is what it is.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, always be checking, regardless of where it is in your business, be it your social media. Is this still working for us? Check in every 6 months, even with your team in your customer service. What are the comments like? Is there any changes? Is there any complaints? By checking these things, and you can adapt. So same thing as what I've done with the newsletter. It's like, hey, right now, LinkedIn is pushing these newsletters out. I don't need to work on like SEO. I don't need to work on getting it pushed out every week. It's like, let me just upload it, put a post with it. Fantastic.
I like to use it for my monthly podcast. I call it Too Legit to Podcast. It's kind of fun. It's a weird intro that does this, like, I don't know, Cheech and Chong kind of style weird thing going on at the beginning because I love 80s hip hop and I think it's fun. And then we get into, well, you were on it. You would know. That's coming soon. And then the first 20 minutes is talking about your business. And then it's the next 20 minutes is bootstrapping. And I realized that within like 7 days, I got 25% of my follower count was hitting the newsletter. And the only struggle I have is because, well, pardon me for not promoting and self-promoting, I at least put the clips in the newsletter. So if somebody's not going to see the whole podcast, then we're going to put some video in there, and then I can throw it in Spotify because then I can do audio and video, and I don't have to go to YouTube to create a whole new thing. So the whole repurposing thing is nice, and the newsletter and taking advantage of those freebies, or that it's a mutual benefit. The system and LinkedIn wants you in their ecosystem, and you want to promote to your people that are already paying attention. So it's kind of a no-brainer. But I'm having trouble with the social click-through rates. The go outside of the platform and listen to my damn podcast. Is that something you struggle with?
I don't know exactly, because there is that challenge before where you can't really see where people have come from. Now I saw that Spotify has, or in the last 6 months or so, they've added in like, hey, let's do these custom links so that you can see this link is from this place. So you can see like, hey, so these people have come from LinkedIn, or these people have come from the website, etc.
Instead of having those UTM links, because marketers know better. And people in the industry, they're like, I'm taking that off. You're not tracking me. Oh, no. Be like, we tricked you because we have a link from Spotify. Take that. Okay.
Exactly. So
And all that, those linking stuff. So it's kind of nice that they're trying and they recognize that you want to track all this stuff. So it's pretty cool.
it makes things so much easier, to see, okay, what do I need to focus on? And I know that the apps, be it Spotify, be it Apple Podcasts, you get a lot naturally through there. So for the art of positioning, it is around 40-50% just comes naturally through Spotify.
Oh, so people are looking like they're through their podcast feed or whatever. They found you and be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. So there's still, I've been checking through this 6-month break between season 2 and season 3 how things have progressed. And there's still new listeners, new followers without active episodes being posted. And comparing that to regular content where, maybe the lifespan is a week, 2 weeks, maybe a few hours, depending on the platform. These podcast episodes, they keep going.
That evergreen content is huge because even client I have 5 years in, 200 episodes, people are still looking at, there's only a couple lessons here and there, but they're going back, check it out 4 or 5 years ago because they want to learn a specific thing. And sometimes it's still relevant. At least some parts of it are. And then you get to hear the evolution of yourself, especially you, how you've kind of climbed through the ranks and just taught yourself through the school of hard knocks to figure this out. And now you're leaning into what I found is interesting is more of a perfect guest fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of taking anybody and everything that listens, hey, you want to invite your cat along so we can meow together? That'd be cool. Half an hour, we're just going to fill a time slot. This is fun. Now it's like you're choosing whether or not people are coming on your podcast. You're being selective to make sure that not only you have that seasonality focus of that topic, but also the communicators that are going to resonate and stuff that people actually want to listen to and listen to your damn podcast.
Yeah, and that is just what I'm so much excited for this season, because it's pretty much going to be like a book, an audiobook, which with the option of video, that you can flip through and be like, hey, how do I implement brand strategy in my business? Or how do I make sure that there's no gaps in my brand strategy in the business? So be it from the HR perspective, or maybe from a finance perspective, or even AI. So having that, and then making sure that the episodes have the right people for them, so that that value is there. We're not just getting some random person, I'd love to talk on your episode, which I see with most podcasts where it's like XYZ come in and I'm like, but like how are they related?
You have people, you have a podcast. I just want to get out there, just talk to our audience. And it's like, from a positioning standpoint, you're like, I can help you with this. No problem. Because we should probably talk. And they're like, I hate you. And you deflated their ego. And it's not nice anymore. But I'd like to see if you did the MVP, the minimal viable product with a book, to take all the transcripts from every episode and say, hey, here you go. And see what it comes out. And then obviously there's going to be iterations. You're like, oh, this is terrible. Or at least it gives you a very basic starting point, like a foundation. Okay, this is kind of a neat book. This is what people might be interested in, and kind of help you position in a way that you might not have thought of. And then you can go, okay, I'm going to write this thing for me because you believe in doing things yourself instead of AI slop.
That would be another interesting idea to take with this podcast. Maybe make it into a book. Maybe, as you mentioned before, go live with it. And I think again, it's going to evolve with the brand as well. But I think now it is so much as an essence, as a part of that positioning, as a part of that brand strategy, as a part of like how a business operates, that I couldn't be happier about it.
And you took those breaks on purpose because you knew as a founder, bootstrapping a podcast mostly, like I help you with the back end stuff, but you're still promoting, still doing guest interviews, you're still doing scheduling, you're still doing the prep and all this work that goes into it. And that takes time. So you need a break between. And now there's a happy accident where you're kind of not purposely mirroring the works of NPR or This American Life or American broadcasters who are doing serial and doing these little audio drama sort of things. And you're kind of emulating that style. And you just wanted to break. And now people are saying, oh, this is kind of like an audiobook, or this is kind of like a thing that you didn't even think of, almost getting into theatrics and entertainment and perhaps a book play. And now you're really leaning into that position of focus where you're thinking, okay, this has got to be a specific topic, almost like you're binging on Netflix for whatever series. And that's you now, the badass Netflix of ears, or I don't know. We'll work on the messaging, but you get the idea. So for this season 3, finally getting there to my question, how did you come up with the topic for season 3? Why did you, and how did the guests fit into this magic?
Almost as if it's a natural progression. So season 1 was breaking down the different elements of brand strategy to understand, like, hey, how does this all come together? Why is there so much depth? I mean, what are these different elements and what does that look like? Into season 2, where it's been like, hey, how about we shake things up with your business? What does that look like? What are the directions that we could take that? And now going into this season, it's like, all right, so we've done that. What does that look like in play? So the way that I've approached it is like, hey, how do we break that down into micro elements? Like, what does that look like in a certain department? Be it from if you're doing a setup of a franchise, or maybe it's a heritage brand, or maybe you've got AI involved. How do we make sure that we can implement that well? And this season has been perfect as the brand is evolved in the positioning. And on that note, I want to pause and talk about what I love about Dealfront is that moment that you have that positioning clear that we were just talking about. Maybe it's earlier in their buyer journey. Maybe it's a trigger of them hiring team members, or they're just using a certain e-commerce platform, or they've recently expanded. Dealfront has a filter for it. And that's what makes me completely obsessed about their platform. You can access your trial from the link in the description. And don't forget to hit that like, share, follow, all those good things if you're enjoying this episode.
How would I use this service in my own business? Could I use Dealfront for me, or is it meant for a team?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like the clearer you are on your positioning and your target audience, when you've got that, you can go in there and hone down like, hey, what is the company size? Where are they located? What's going on in their business? Have they just hired people? You can set up these signals. Say, for example, have they hired someone in the last 6 months or in the last 3 months? That's a great signal of company growth. Or maybe they're looking to expand and they've posted a news article about that. You can put all those things in the filters of Dealfront and hone down to a specific set of ideal people that you can reach out to and be like, hey, I can see this person's on LinkedIn, or hey, I can see this person has an email or a phone number that I can contact and have a conversation. And you already know about them. You can look through their website. You can stalk through their LinkedIn, or have AI go in and be like, hey, this is like the few people within this company. Can you tell me more about what's their history? What's their story?
It's like a AI assistant for marketing that where people don't have the budget or resources. So it's somebody AI is powerful for researching. They're going out in the internet, or it is going out in the internet, figuring out all these things for you, and then putting it in a nice, tidy package. You have the Google Analytics, the marketing, the prospecting, the awareness, the who's talking about me factor, and does my website suck for an SEO standpoint? It's nice wrapped up kind of dashboard.
It's very much a database. It's having that database which is live, where you can see the updates and access to people. And say, for example, if you're in Europe, they're all GDPR safe.
Big deal for Europe. Clay's big in the space to get prospecting and sales. It's smart for them to get that logo, because everybody knows that's in cybersecurity or related industries like sales. It seems to be a very popular brand that helps with prospecting and leads and putting stuff together.
But you know what? I was just playing with Clay, and
Yeah.
I did not see those signals. Okay, yes, they have minimum, maximum employee numbers. But say, for example, if they recently hired someone, I didn't see that there. If they've just put out an announcement that they're expanding their business, that they're going to be taking on a new business, I didn't see that option there. There's a lot more filters with Dealfront than I found on Clay.
That's very cool. You were trying to do this thing as an ad, and I've never heard of them before.
And we've just gone into this.
I was like, this sounds cool. I kind of like this because I'm an entrepreneur. I dig this stuff, and not like I'd love to have an agency behind me. And some people have the money, but usually that's within Series A or Series C funding. Like when you get in the millions, you can actually, because millions doesn't matter anymore, you can actually hire a team. But now, $100 a month, you're good to go. So that's cool.
Exactly.
I got a rabbit hole my ADHD head, and I'm like, this is neat. So Dealfront wins, I guess, but didn't plan that. That was a fun accident. Thank you. So I guess we should talk about you again. That's important.
Or the podcast, or yeah.
I was looking through your episodes, right? They're pretty cool.
You know, I've got someone or another panel on there where we're planning to talk about neurodiversity and encompassing that. What does it look like? Say, for example, when you're putting in those brand strategy, when you're putting in those values, how do we include that neurodivergency or neurospicy people to make sure that it goes smoothly? You know, there's always that issue that I found speaking to different companies when they're, say, for example, they've repositioned or they've rebranded, or maybe they've taken on a new brand in addition to their own. It can be hella confusing. And especially for customers or your audience who are looking at it from the outside, they're like, this is not the brand that I know. And you start losing customers, either from they're annoyed about the change of their service, there's a disconnect there, or they don't connect, they couldn't find the brand anymore. They're like, oh, you know, I thought it was this name, but I can't find it anymore. How do we avoid all these things?
For you to have a panel of neurodivergent folks on a podcast is brave.
Well, wish me luck.
Yeah, it's hard enough to wrangle me in, and I'm going down rabbit holes with advertisers. Like this is just wee. So well done. And that really is a testament to how far you've come from listening to a podcast for 3 minutes to now being invested in this marketing game, the culture, and the media that exists. It's cool.
It's been a real pivot, especially seeing both sides of the fence, where it's like, okay, I'm hosting a podcast, but then there's the other side where it's like, hey, I'm guesting a podcast, and to balance those two out,
you're everywhere. There's no balance. It's just I'm here, and good luck. That's kind of how it feels, right?
Speaking and managing so much easier, I found, going into the season compared to going into season 1 or 2. season 1 and 2, when I was going into it, the first few episodes, and you know this, like especially with my voice, I was nervous as all heck. Like it was kind of all over the place.
Everything you read. I'm like, do you have to read everything? Could you maybe lift the words off the page? In the industry, that just means giving it life and emotion, talking naturally instead of, I am Beatrice. It wasn't that bad, but you get the idea.
I was not that bad.
No, not even close, but it's just visual. It helps. Now you've come here.
Yeah.
And I guess you're at a point in your life where you also have to have a masterclass. Is this a rite of passage for B2B founders? Is that what this is? I love the masterclass, but it seems this is a thing I have to check off. Is that a checkbox for you? Is there a particular purpose why you're having the masterclass?
So I don't know, for a long time, I avoided the idea of like doing a masterclass. I was like, I cringed away from it. And
Feels forced sometimes, yeah.
it didn't feel right. Like I was like, there's so much in brand strategy. There's so much in terms of what we do together, to make sure that, hey, let's reposition you. Let's make sure that your values are like on point and straight, and you've got a clear differentiation and what that looks like in business. There's so much. And I was like, how could I possibly put that into a masterclass? And having worked with, the last few clients and had this experience, I'm just like, you know what? There is one clear and consistent area that I found that can fit into a masterclass. And if people follow through with that, they can make massive changes in their business just from understanding, okay, these are the 4 core pillars that I use approaching a repositioning, how you can reposition, and to choose one of those and see like, okay, how does this look like in the business? That can certainly fit into a masterclass. And the results from that, if you go through, it's like, hey, I've chosen XYZ direction, be it like, maybe we're going to move earlier in the buyer journey. This is like one of the pillars. Or a different part of the buyer journey. Okay, what does this look like in implementation? You can go through there and implement it and save yourself thousands in rebrand, if not hundreds of thousands, but also have a clear direction for your team.
You mentioned one way, but there's more than one, right? Yeah.
So
is this a purposeful cliffhanger? Are you teasing me? Is this an excuse to talk longer? What is this play?
I'll give you the overarching as a teaser. So the 4R, one is looking at your buyer journey and seeing how you can change that. Another is looking at the competition. What are their weaknesses? What's going on with them? The third one is looking inside. Are there any quirks, any certain je ne sais quoi that is entirely you, your business, how you operate? And the last one, and my favorite one, is the industry shoulds. The things that like, we're so used to doing it that everybody else is doing.
I should do it because of this, or I shouldn't do it because of this, or I should probably go and work 9 to 5 because it's safe. Some people, it works great. It works great. Not going to knock it, but not for everybody. And just don't do it to hate your life and be empty inside. I think that's part of the introspective, the 4th pillar.
Exactly. There's this so much possibility just in that one pillar, to look at like, is there something that it's always been done by everybody else, but is it really all that necessary to do it? Does it make sense? Are you just adding work for the sake of adding work, or just because everybody else is doing it? Same thing is, The cleaning detergents, they all had the bright, colorful packaging until one of the brands, they decided, no, let's make it pretty. Then it stands out on the shelf. Why do we have to do it the same way?
A Canadian grocery chain, they're budgeted. They're called No Frills. They have no nothing. Like it's just we have the groceries. That's it. But they have a yellow packaging that says no name. They're literally like the generic brand, but they went all in on this very simple, very straightforward, no frills sort of thing. Galen Weston or Loblaws, you might have heard of them in your whatever, and some North American folks will hear a lot about them. But I thought that was really interesting because they're as much as you think it's not a brand. They've created a brand of nothingness or genericisms to create the staple and iconic messaging. It's kind of neat. To your point,
it's like the nothing phone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
and they leaned into that naming, especially when Jaguar went like, what is it? Be like nothing or something like that. Copy nothing or nobody.
And so there are nothing and everything all at once.
Exactly.
And this whole shift of confusion in circles, but they're owning it, and it works. It's very simple, straightforward styling. That really works for them.
Keep it clean, keep it consistent, be it with your internal team, be it with your marketing, be it with the way of thinking. Hell.
Can I ask you, maybe put you on the spot about an honest brand that we didn't plan for? You up for it?
Totally. Let's go.
There's a brand I caught on BDB Network that we share on LinkedIn called Seaman. What are your initial thoughts? And do you think it's working?
I love it. I think it's a fantastic name and brand because there's a clear history and reasoning behind the name. It's not just a name for the sake of like, hey, let's play with it and have that dirty side meaning. It has that side meaning and that can be leaned into as well. Like you can take that brand in so many different directions. But
True.
It has that essence. So I think it has a lot of possibility for growth.
It's type of coffee, I believe.
Horchata.
Horchata, thank you.
Yeah. It's, they lean into the seaman side. You can take it in so many ways, maybe on the pirate side, maybe into like the naval side, maybe into
12-year-old side where everybody's on OnlyFans, and for some reason it's perfect for Pride Month because there's a lot of people in minority groups that just have fun and playful, and they're sick of being judged. Be like, yeah, I'll take some in the eye. It's great. I don't mind. It's energizing for my whole body. I'm like, you're leaning into this a little too hard, but thank you. This is fun. And now HR, I have to call them because I feel uncomfortable. But that's my problem, not theirs.
It takes a clear and distinct position and unabashed. They're not going to say sorry about it. And that's what is what I call a powerful brand, and what can be a powerful brand if they continue with that consistency.
Do you think they're leaning too much into humor to get to move past the actual viability of the product, to actually get people to move past the jokes and the ha-has and the 12-year-old isms?
If they stick to it, no. If they change, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. If their voice is consistently like that, regardless of where be it 5 years from now, etc., then yeah, that's going to be the changing factor. You have a look at brands like cereal, the cereal in UK, where that childish, like, I don't want to be at work, is something that draws people in, that connects people, and you lets them see that, hey, these are real human beings on the other side. And I know we've spoken about this before, where it's like because AI is so prevalent and is becoming ever more so, that human voice that like I can relate to this person. They got my kind of jokes, or they've got my kind of interest is what's going to connect, is what's going to distinctify, if that's a word, friends coming in the future. It is now.
It's the AI stuff on Instagram that I have a hard time with, or TikTok, because sometimes you can't tell because you're just scrolling, you're not paying attention, whatever. But it's the same style of interview content that just garbage. That's 10 seconds of just some sort of hot take. It's garbage. And I hope that people can look past that and not give it the attention that it shouldn't have. But we'll see how it goes. For people who are creating like the Seaman brand, or even if it's Jaguar, that people love them or hate them, at least they're trying something different, even if they're disconnected from their audience.
Like I said, the point is the consistency. And so, okay, it is mid-June. And this morning, there was some hot news where one of the podcasts, and I'm not sure if you've caught this, it linked up with Andrew Tate and another gentleman who's like controversial as well. And she became famous by doing or things that are questionable. You know, they're just there for the sake of like, okay, what can we do to get people angry at us or to build that conflict? But that changes every single day. And so there's no real one consistent voice. Yeah, you're going to get people who just want to be, you know, complaining all the time. But is that really the audience that you want?
So now Andrew Tate leaning into the misogyny after the YouTube ban for the publicity and the virality, he's simply like Howard Stern of today. It's not exciting content. It's just I'm a dude and I like to, you know, put women down. And because a lot of people resonate with that and trigger emotions, that's fun. Is that where you want to be in your life? Is that important to you to be viral and still be empty inside? Because if he does believe in those values, one, it's sad. And two, if he doesn't, then he's just living a lie in exchange for cash. And is that where you want to be in life? Some people do.
He's consistent, at least. I do not agree at all with him, but he is consistent. And therefore, he will draw in a certain kind of audience.
Is it better to be a terrible human and consistent than to be a great human and inconsistent?
Maybe. It's shit to say it.
It's from a positioning standpoint, he's nailed it. But from a human, I have standard standpoint, no.
Exactly, and that's the issue with I'm not sure the name of the lady that's arranged this podcast. She's just jumping from one thing to another, one horrible thing to another, and it's
like the Haktua lady, just trademark some crap and make a mint off of it because it's a thing.
Exactly. So the point is be consistent, not with just putting out the exact same messaging. It's being consistent with those values, with that essence. So when we're jumping back to the Seaman brand that you brought up, right? He's consistent with like, okay, the reason why I've gone into this is because my background is in the naval industry. It is because this essence kind of is a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek. He's got that consistent essence. And you can take that in whichever way you want, as long as that essence is always going to be there. That position is the important thing.
Before we close, Beatrice, I think it'd be cool to kind of highlight extra podcasts, because somebody is going to want to binge on the Art of Branding / Positioning. Season 1 and 2 took care of a lot of things. So there's a lot of wrap around branding, even though we're leaning into positioning. Maybe it's somebody that is talking about a sidekick or identity crisis. Do you want to have a mascot? What would that look like? Is that a good one to lean into?
Definitely. Check out Roman Pikolenko's episode. It's we go into a little bit of like how we both went into like building our individual little furry creatures, or fluffy. I mean, his is like a flamingo with feathers, so never mind. Or definitely recommend checking out Michael Cliff's episode where it's like, hey, let's have a look at what the business side of thing is. Like, how do we make sure that these values are built out accordingly in the business? What do they look like in terms of making sure that they're accurate?
You got back in October 24 was Alex with No Bullshit Strategy. And then there was the distinction of brand with memes with Aiden Brannigan.
Yeah.
That was really cool too. Really leaned into something different to creating humor. And I think that was kind of the, dare I say, if I can be so bold, kind of the doing the weird LinkedIn thing before it was cool, before it was a hashtag, and I hate him for it. Everybody who used the hashtag, but Aiden, love him to death because he just leaned into his own thing and was focused and consistent with the memes. It worked.
And shit, like he's built out his full, like at that time he was employed by the marketing millennials, and now he's built out his business, right. No Boring Brands, and it's on the back end of these memes and building it out. And he explained it so well in that episode of like, hey, how do we make sure that humor comes across without it being cringy?
Even though you talk to Chris Tester, he seduced us with his brand voice, but now he's blown up, literally, like gotten awards on TikTok, has millions of followers, and he's just done his thing. Even from September 23, he's now into 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's got like 1 million followers on TikTok. And he always does his voice acting stuff. That's awesome. Leading into his craft, sticking to what he knows, and having this really cool suit. Kind of had this British flair, English flair, if I may. And that'd be a cool one to check out. I could go through all these all day, and I shouldn't because I've already got 5 that you have to put in your description. I'm sorry. But some stuff that you can really lean into and get like this masterclass before you're ready to step into the real masterclass.
Exactly. Nice. It's going to be a fantastic one. And on that note, thank you so much, Elijah, for just taking the reins, whacking me around and really digging into killing the art of branding and becoming the art of positioning with this first episode. And for you, my lovely listeners, thank you for listening to the Art of Positioning podcast. If you love this episode, a 5-star review goes a long way. And to reach out to Elijah, myself, or grab that Dealfront access, check out the episode description. Let's freaking grow.
I'm here for it. And go to the website, Badassery by B. Do some checking and check out the resources. Do the quiz because it's cool too. It'll be fun. I promise.
They call me crazy because I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me. I'm gonna live out in defiance.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids. The art of positioning. Let's freaking go.